Hello guys and gals, this is What Ifs here, and this is going to be part 3 of What If Deku Was a Robot. And before you guys start saying that I'm essentially won't be doing any more of the What If Deku Was experimented on, don't worry, I will be doing that. Although I believe that I'm gonna be focusing I would say 3 more episodes on this one, and then I'm gonna go back on the experimented one until I completely finish it. And yeah, and so, we begin. And last part of, what if Deku was a robot? So essentially this happened. Deku went around the entire facility, or more accurately, wreckages of ships which are under the ocean, and sort of met everyone there. He met the other AIs, the robots, which actually were, smart. He met Omega, and he also met May. And now, if any of you guys are wondering how exactly May looks like, she essentially looks like this. So, yeah, before she became the main engineering robot, she was actually, created by Deku's father to essentially be, one of the, how do I say this, more practical robots. So essentially she was supposed to be a doctor. And yeah, although after the entirety of the AI haywire and all that crap, she sort of became an engineer who was then creating more and more robots and weapons. But yeah, now she is the main engineer of, essentially, the entire base where Deku currently is. But enough about that. As also in the last part, Deku got fixed up by May. And we left off with Deku exiting, essentially the room where he was, the engineering bay, shall we say. And yeah, after that, he went on his merry way. But that's when he noticed something, a different tunnel leading to somewhere. And as he goes ahead and enters the tunnel, he notices something. This tunnel keeps going further and further down. And that's when he sees, essentially a door. And guarding those doors are, two other robots. As Deku simply asks them what exactly is this place, with the two robots simply stating that this is the main, power core of the entire, let's just call it, the base, the power core of the entire base. With Deku stating, where exactly does the power come from? With one of the robots simply, since they don't exactly trust Deku, but at that point Omega arrives. And if any of you guys are wondering who Omega is this, a type of assassin droid. But yeah, as Omega comes and he simply, tells them that it's alright. And after that, simply tells Deku, well, Deku, the power core for this entire base is, putting it rather simply, an experimental ship, which was being made by, haywire. And simply putting it, yes, the ship could fly, and it's about, I would say, 300 to 500 meters long. But it has never been finished and is currently being used as essentially a gigantic power core. With Deku then stating, wait, what? And that's when Omega simply states that if quirks weren't a thing, and if All Might didn't exactly, along with your mother, that both of them didn't destroy the main artificial intelligence's core, let's just say that you would have had these types of ships around the battlefield in, I would say around the dozens. So, yeah. That's when Deku simply asks what exactly was, the main purpose of these ships, Omega. As Omega says, they're flying, some of them were meant to be flying fortresses, some of them flying bases, and others, simply putting it, flying carriers. Each one of them could, or in theory, this one was supposed to be a carrier, and it does have its drone complement still on it. With Deku saying, wait, what drones? How many? About 1,000. With Deku simply responding, wait, what do you mean 1,000 drones? What sort of drones? Essentially drones which can be manually operated, and they do have some sort of AI, but compared to us, it's extremely dumb. But yeah, those drones essentially had, well, turbines on them, and yeah, that's about it. And they were also extremely compact. That's the entire reason why this carrier could carry not only, well, war robots, but also a bunch of drones. But enough about that. We seem to be having an issue, with Echo simply saying, wait, what? What issue? Has then, simply put, Omega tells him to follow him, as Deku does. And that's when they arrive in, well, simply putting it, what can be described as a command room. He sees several other robots there, including May. Because yes, May is essentially the head engineer there, and she's also, simply putting it, well, one of the, let's say, executives which they have. And well, yeah. As he goes there, he says hi to May, with May saying hello. And after that, the leader who is there, which isn't Omega, it's rather an artificial intelligence which is, well, smarter than all of them combined, because it is the same thing as, well, Haywire. Simply putting it, she is a gigantic core which processes information, and she is also, well, their leader. As then Deku simply asks Omega what they're here for. As, simply putting it, I'm going to call her, that is their leader, let's say Omni. So yeah, as Omni then simply says to all of them that the reason they are here is, well, because of the Syndicate, and also the Division. The Division is, I believe that I said that the Division were, simply putting it, essentially humans which specialize in destroying robots, while the Syndicate were humans who wanted to use robots, reprogram them, and essentially to rule the world. Yeah. Also, a quick recap. The Division is led by, well, Dabi, or Toya Todoroki. And his main agent, or one of them, is Toga. And also her quirk is, well, not exactly the same. Her quirk in this what if is going to be, simply put, manipulation of anything which is a metal. So yeah, she's, simply putting it, a nightmare to every single robot if she gets in close. But yeah, the Syndicate, on the other hand, is essentially quite a few criminal organizations and also the Yakuza, simply put together. And yeah, they're being led by Overhaul. But now, enough about that, as Omni simply tells all of them that both the Division and the Syndicate have started, well, making their move. The Division has currently, well, sent several helicopters along with several squads of highly trained, well, hunters to hunt down any robots which they see. And as Omni simply states, the reason why they were sent there is mainly because of you, Deku. Or I believe that your name currently is Juggernaut. With Deku simply saying, it's alright, you can call me Deku as well. With Omni simply saying, alright, Juggernaut, so, yeah, with Deku being a bit, As he simply gets it now, all the robots are going to call him a juggernaut instead of his human name. But yeah, as Omni then simply tells them this, that several robots are currently located, well, in the city of, let's say it is Tokyo. That sounds pretty good. And yeah, as they hear that, essentially Omega at that point simply butts in. You want us to go save them or what? With Omni simply saying, well, yes, that is the plan. And at that point Omega, along with Alpha and Beta, simply, well, say no. The main reason being, Tokyo has the headquarters of the division, and on top of that, there are more division agents and hunters in Tokyo than there are heroes. And simply putting it, hunters and agents are two different things. Agents are essentially, well, sent to handle, well, simply putting it, human threats, and maybe smaller threats of robots, while the hunters are essentially full-blown, well, how do I say this? They are basically at the levels of heroes and they can also use their quirks. So yeah, the hunters are quite powerful, but yeah, simply putting it, Tokyo is, well, let's just say that it's not such a friendly, well, that it's not such a friendly, well, place for robots. Because when the war had still happened, the Third World War, where the robots essentially rose up against humanity, Tokyo was hit pretty hard, with even several nukes, or, well, tactical nukes, going off in the city itself. So the people there absolutely hate robots, and that's just that. It's almost like a law. If you don't hate the robots, you're gonna get beaten. But yeah. After that, as Deku simply says that, well, where are they currently located? As Omni tells them that they are currently located in a warehouse, which is, well, still in Tokyo, but it's quite close to the sea. And well, that's when Deku simply asks, is there any chance that I might go there? With Omni simply stating, alone? Well, not exactly. You're going to need quite a few more robots if you want to get them out. And at that point, Omega is just, wait, no. You want to send multiple robots to retrieve, what, a group of 7, 6? Actually, yeah, how many even are there? As Alpha asks. With Omni simply stating, 200. And at that point, Omega is just, I'm sorry, how many? As Omni then simply tells them that all of those robots were essentially put on ice by the Central Intelligence. All of them had AIs installed and all of them are quite powerful, but they know that, but simply putting it, there used to be 300 of them. The first group of essentially 100 robots went ahead and tried to escape on their own. As soon as people saw them, they called the hunters along with the heroes and the division. Safe to say that all those robots were destroyed in under several minutes, even though they were purposely created for war. But at that point, Omega simply says, I guess it's worth it. There's 200 of them currently. Fine. I'm going along. I'm gonna come with you, Deku. Anyone else? As well, May also essentially puts her hand up, saying that she will also be useful to go there. Simply putting it because, well, the way she works is that she floats off the ground. And yeah, in the water, she essentially uses her, let's just say that her lifting technology to, well, move herself faster in the water. That's when Deku and Omega just look at her, essentially being, what do you mean? You don't even have any sort of combat combat capabilities. And at that point, May, as you guys can see, and essentially, her face, or essentially her, yeah, where her face is currently at, it closes up with the same white metal which is currently, you guys can see here. After that, her arms sort of, well, extend outwards. Her left arm, then simply put, folds in on itself, revealing a laser cannon, and the other essentially gets buffed up with more armor and also has, well, an energy blade right off of it. And at that point, Omega simply asks May, "You aren't a you weren't made for war. How do you have that?" And that's when May simply responds in now a more deeper voice. "I'm the head engineer in this entire place. What did you think I was gonna do?" And that's when Omega is simply, "Oh, right. Forgot about that. Well, fine then." And, well, simply putting it, after that, all three of them, along with a squad of, let's just say, nameless robots, which are somewhat similar to Deku, although not as much. They're not as large as him. Which I believe that I said Deku was, well, almost All Might height? Although I'm not sure. Actually, wait, no, I think that I said that he was taller than All Might. Fine, let's just say that he was 4 meters tall. That should be enough. Actually, wait, no, 3.5. There we go. And yeah, and simply putting it after that, they begin to move. And when I mean move, I mean that they simply start walking and, well, May floating on the ocean's bed. And simply putting it, as they go, start walking, they don't chat. Well, May and Deku do chat a tiny bit, but that's when Omega simply tells them to quiet down. As at this point they've been walking there for about half a day. As they ask Omega what's wrong, as Omega simply, well, shows them. Above them are currently several speedboats and one, which can simply be said, a cruiser. Or actually, no, not a cruiser, a destroyer. And yeah, all of them are simply asking, they don't know that we're here, right? As May says. No, it's not that. That's one of the Division's boats. As then Omega simply activates one of his features. That feature being, well, that he has X-ray, or something similar to it. He can essentially see the cores of all robots. And as he does that, he sees that there are over 27 robots on that ship. With further investigating, he sees that there are only, well, 70 humans on board. And at that point, and also let's just say that this destroyer has most of its space for essentially carrying robots. And yeah, that's when they simply, well, Omega doesn't do the wiser plan because they are going to save those robots. Because we need more, well, manpower, do we not? As Deku simply looks around, sees the squad of robots which are with them, essentially being 11, and he looks at May, then at Omega. And also, yeah, simply putting it, they start devising a plan. As above them is currently that destroyer. It has 70, essentially, soldiers on it, and also 4 more speedboats, with each having a squad of soldiers on it. So, basically, 110 soldiers all combined against Omega's, well, force of 13 robots, including him. But they had a tiny advantage. First one being May, which could, well, simply putting it, fly. And on top of that, they also had Deku, someone who the Division has absolutely no clue of how to beat. And yeah, simply putting it, they go ahead and, well, do their plan. With their plan, simply putting it, being that they're going to swim up to the main area, with May along with the three other robots essentially going after the speedboats, with the other robots along with Deku and Omega going after the destroyer. And then as all of them get into position, with Deku grabbing a hold of the destroyer's hull along with Omega and the other 7 robots, as May gets in position along with her own team of 3 robots. And just as Omega, and just as they get into position, the 4 speedboats, which are essentially at this point right above them, start to, well, turn on their engines yet again. But before they can do that, Omega simply, well, shouts, "Now." And then, this is what happens. May uses her laser to completely cut the boat in half. The other 3 robots use missiles, and yeah, as they shoot them, they blow up all 3 boats. At that point, the soldiers which May had used the laser on, or the speedboat, the soldiers which weren't cut in half by it, jump into the water, without being about 3 of them. And well, all of these soldiers had scuba gear on, along with specialized weapons which are capable of shooting in the water. And that's when they see May, and then they had to start shoot. Although they couldn't do that much damage because, yeah, all 3 of them suddenly have holes in them. Precisely their heads. As May simply goes ahead and sees who exactly shot that, she sees that Deku had just shot with his, well, weapon. And also, guys, just so you know, Deku, he doesn't have only one weapon. Simply putting it, let's just say that before this whole fiasco, May went ahead and gave him some more upgrades. So, simply putting it, his arms are a bit longer, his torso has a bit more armor on it, along with his arms, and also his right arm can turn into a minigun. Yes, with his other gun having all of its capabilities not changed. The capabilities are essentially this: it can shoot out in a field which is essentially a concentrated area EMP. It can shoot bullets with different attributes, being explosive, electrical, and normal. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And as in the same time as Deku shoots the 3 guys who were about to, well, shoot at May, Omega has currently made a hole in the side of the ship. And when I say the side of the ship, I mean the side which is like a bit above water. So yeah, the destroyer is now on full alert, to the point where all their soldiers are currently on the deck, simply shooting at the water, because let's just say they have essentially goggles which can let them see where the robots are. Essentially like a sonar. So yeah, as they shoot there, they don't see Omega and the other 7 robots along with Deku enter the ship. And yeah, as all of them enter, they're essentially in the panels between, well, the main holding area. As, simply putting it, Omega turns on his X-ray and sees where exactly the humans are. There is, in total, 30 humans in the holding area. And simply put, Omega tells Deku to make, well, to do what his name suggests he does. With his name being Juggernaut, he rushes through the wall. He completely, essentially makes a 4-meter high and 3-meter, well, wide hole. And after that, he immediately uses his minigun attachment and, well, starts shooting at the people there. Actually, wait, no, I don't believe that I actually made him that evil yet. Or, well, not evil, more like, let's just say that Deku at this point simply takes out his rifle and then starts shooting the, well, small bursts of EMP, which can essentially neutralize someone, although not kill them. And yeah, As Deku does that, one after another, the soldiers fall. Several squads of them, which were, well, not exactly in the main area or the ground floor, which were above, start shooting at Deku. One of them even shooting, well, simply putting it, a sort of a weapon which shoots out a laser, although not a powerful one. And yeah, as he shoots the laser, he sees something. The laser doesn't even make a scratch on Deku, because like I said, Deku's armor is extremely tough. And at that point, Omega and the other 7 robots were already entered the room. And as they enter, they're not exactly like Deku. They go full in, essentially shoot to kill mode. And that's exactly what they do. After a couple of, well, that is after 3 minutes, all of the humans are dead. That's when May simply says that the humans which were, well, on the top side of the ship have begun going down. As at that point, the humans, a captain, is currently running, essentially, to go to the main holding area. And as they open up the main door, what they see in front of them essentially makes them shit their pants. They see Deku in an absolute giant of a robot, Omega, the 7 robots which they had in their squad, and then a further 27 which were captured, who have all been let out. And these types of robots, simply putting it, they were essentially anti-tank. So yeah, they have anti-tank weapons and they also have essentially a minigun on their, well, shoulders. And yeah, as the soldiers see that, they immediately get scared, and that's when the firing begins. All 30 or so, actually no, all 50 soldiers which went there are all massacred. The 20 or so soldiers which were left on the bridge, simply putting it, send an SOS signal. And yeah, as they do that, Darby simply picks up the phone, shall we say. And also, yeah, Darby is currently in Tokyo after he finished up the entire incident with Deku. And yeah, as he picks up the phone and simply asks what is so urgent that they had to call, and that's when, before he can even finish his sentence, the captain simply says that the Juggernaut, along with 50 or so other robots, are on his destroyer. That's when Darby simply says, I'm sorry, what now? How many? And yeah, after that, Darby simply issues an order to, well, essentially his secretary to immediately, well, establish connections with the main Japanese army's fleet, which was in the area. And that fleet is a bit larger than this one, consisting of, well, 1 aircraft carrier, 3 cruisers, 17 destroyers, and simply put, 3 supply ships, and along with that, a lot of patrol boats. So yeah, as the Admiral simply gets the call, he immediately turns around his fleet to go in the opposite direction, where the main battle is currently going at, or the destroyer. But yeah, after that, the robots simply go ahead to essentially the back of the ship, and they blow a hole right through it. And at that, they simply start jumping into the ocean. But as a last, let's say, present, one of the anti-tank robots, let's just say that he has something similar to a bomb. Although this bomb is about half a meter long. And yeah, simply putting it, he throws it at the middle of the ship, and then he also jumps into the water. Now, as the Admiral, who is currently about, let's say, 100 or so kilometers away, he simply, first, they see it. A bright flash, essentially, let's say a bright flash, then after that, the explosion, which can be heard all the way from them to the mainland, which isn't Tokyo yet. Tokyo is, let's say, a further 200 miles away, or 200 kilometers away. But yeah, that's when the Admiral simply tries to get in contact with the destroyer. No luck. The robots had just destroyed a destroyer. And simply putting it, this was the first, let's say, somewhat moderate attack on a military ship which had happened after the war. And yeah, now has the bolstered forces of Omega and Deku and May have now, simply putting it, go ahead towards Tokyo. And yeah, also one more thing, these robots, they don't exactly have an AI. Well, let's say that like 3 of them do, but the other 24 don't. So yeah, they are essentially following the orders of a higher ranked robot. At this point, that's both May and Omega. As they see Deku as a fellow robot, so they don't shoot at him because they know that he's not hostile. But yeah, after a further, let's say, 2.5 hours of walking under the bed, that is walking under the sea. Actually, wait, no, let's say after 2 more days after that walking, they arrive at the Tokyo. And yeah, simply putting it, they go ahead and, well, start marching upwards. And when I say marching upwards, I simply mean that, well, I mean this. The 24 robots which don't have AIs have all been spread out in essentially 1 kilometer area. And so, it's a nice, beautiful beach day. People are enjoying themselves. That's when they hear something clanking, like a minor earthquake. And that's when something comes out of the water, as they see a robot with a minigun and an anti-tank, well, cannon. Now, before they can even run, the robots open fire, massacring quite a few civilians. At that point, the division sends its agents along with several heroes. Although the heroes which were there at the time have all been massacred because, yeah, good luck going up against a robot which was meant to, simply putting it, destroy tanks and bunkers. It won't go that well. And yeah, as the division then simply hears, well, multiple more attacks, then multiple more, then a dozen more. And after everything is done, 24 simultaneous attacks by robots have been, well, have happened. At that point, the division simply gets all of their assets, which are, well, in that area, and sends them to stop the robot advance. Because at this point, Dabi and Toga, along with several other of the higher ranking, well, officials in the division, are straight up thinking that a new invasion has fucking begun. Because, yeah, 24 robots. Which, may I remind you guys that, well, these types of robots, the anti-tank ones, yeah, they are quite powerful. And by that, I mean that you need at least 50 human soldiers to take out one. So, yeah, as these robots, simply putting it, kept massacring civilians after civilians, the division agents finally arrived, along with hunters and heroes, with one of these heroes, well, being Mirako. And now, Mirako is a bit different in this what if story. Simply putting it, she has, well, a few advancements on her legs, on her arms, and also her torso and face. Essentially armor, which is both flexible and durable, and which also gives her a bit more, shall we say, power when she kicks something. And yeah, as she essentially dashes towards one of the robots, the robot sees her and then fires first one shot with its anti-tank cannon, which, simply putting it, let's say that it, well, misses. Mirako jumps out the way and the shot misses, although it hits a group of, well, soldiers of the division, And at that point, Mirko starts going even faster. That's when the minigun is activated. Mirko gets shot once in the leg, but it's far too late for the poor robot, as Mirko jumps in the air and, well, simply putting it, kicks it in its head, with the robot now being completely, well, destroyed. And now, what exactly is going on with the other robots? Well, let's just say this. The other robots have currently not been stopped yet. The heroes are trying their best, but nothing is working. And while all of this is going on, Deku, Omega, along with their squads, being Mei, Omega, and Deku, have made their way to the main warehouse. As they open up the doors of the warehouse, they see 200 other robots simply waiting for them there. And after that, they simply tell them to follow them, because the entire city is currently in essentially mass hysteria. And yeah, as that happens, they start to move. And yeah, simply putting it, as all the heroes and essentially police and the division agents are currently preoccupied with the robots who are currently attacking, Deku and all of the other robots who are actually smart are able to escape. And yeah, now, and that's going to be it for part 3 of What If Deku Was a Robot. I hope you guys and gals enjoyed, and judging by the time which is currently here, I hope you have a great evening.